16, okay. Oh man, that is just a straight on blow to the head. Okay, yeah. There's a subtle movement there right before you hit. Yet?
なるほど。あの死者、確かに殴られ慣れているな。拳が当たる直前に首や腰をひねって、体の芯への衝撃を散らしている。
But still, that's insane.
かわしていると気づかれぬ程度に。だがドロットも業のものだ。
Right. There's just brute force.
長くは持つまい。
Head trauma, concussion, concussive force. Oh no. That's gotta be a broken nose. The first method, yeah. Rough beginnings, rough beginnings. I like this. This is a good perspective to have on this. Quite a realistic and grounded perspective at that. This.
なんだありゃ。喧嘩か？そいつは農場とは無関係だ。
Oh, he got distracted. Okay, that one was the real deal. He'll get up. He'll get up.
奴らの折檻に100羽伝えたら、王様に直談判させてもらえる。
They have a history.
そういう約束なんです。バカな農場のために。
Olmar getting to see this is important. Yes.
話し合いで解決するくらいなら、とっくにやってな。
Thorfinn?
本当にそうか。本当に真剣に。
Did you really endure?
話し合いで解決する努力を。向こうが剣を抜いたから何も考えずに剣で答えただけだろうがよ。
At some point, he is going to gain his respect as well, surely, as a warrior. Ooh. Oh, that's an approach, all right. Oh, Thorfinn. Just got chills. I think all of them can respect this. Okay. Yeah, look at this. The tone completely changed. Ooh. Oh God. Oh, beautiful. Look at this. Look at the detail. The expressions.
ドルスの子、ドルフィン。疑ってすまなかった。お前は本物の戦士だ。どうかこのトルフィンのお目通りをお許しください。
Let me ask you a few questions first, young man.
だが、なぜ殴り返さないのだ？
That's the $1,000,000 question, eh?
倒せば、元この枝というお前の実力の証明になるだろう。
Really quite easily as well, but...
なんだその質問は。
Oh god, yeah, his nose is
和平工
mangled.
場の相手をぶん殴ってりゃ世話ねえぜ。あんた方とは今日会ったばかりだ。お互いのことは何も知らねえ。何の恨みもねえ。なんで俺たちが殴り合わなきゃいけねえんだ。バカバカしい。いがみ合ってるのはクヌートとケティルじゃねえかよ。親玉二人でネファタフルでもやって白黒つけりゃいいだろうが、あんた方は俺の敵じゃない。
No one is your enemy.
俺に敵なんかいない。
Yes, Omar, yes.
大した度胸だな。この数の職業戦士に囲まれて堂々と戦争を否定するとは。そなた王陛下に直接それを進言してみるといい。王陛下とて好んで戦をなさっているわけで
He
はない。
has to. He has to.
拝謁しお言葉を聞けばそのお心を知るだろう。道を開けろ。
Oh.
シャドウを陛下の恩元へお通しする。
A position of power. Look at that. My god,
Oh,
Yamada score.
エイナル、戦争を起こす張本人に会うんだ。
Ah,
お前も言
interesting.
いたいことがあるだろう。
おお、あるさ、山ほどな。
Oh my god, it's happening.
見るな、エイナル。
パテールさん。
No.
見るな。あの中にパテールさんを見つけてしまったら冷静でいられなくなる。
That should bring back a few memories, yeah. From a lifetime ago. Oh, haunting.
わかった。青。そなたたちの気持ちを尊重する。
ありがとうございます。
This feels monumental to the story.
そなたを奴隷の身に落としたこと。いや、アシュラットのこと。さぞ恨んでいような。
He's been thinking about this for some time, huh?
デンマーク王家に刃を向けた俺が今こうして生きているんだ。あなたの配慮に感謝しています。
Yeah.
お顔の傷、申し訳ありませんでした。
This is his first look.
陛下のお顔に傷をつけた男。
Canute's first look at the new
ト
Thorfinn.
ルフィン・カルルセブにかつてトルケル閣下と五分の戦いをしたという男。
Oh.
あんなに小柄で若いとは。
4年か。もうあれから4年になるのだな。人を変えるには十分な年月だ。
クヌート、農場から手を引いてくれ。
できんな。
そりゃつまりこの農場を手に入れるまでってことだろ。
Perceptive.
建前並べたって隠せねえぞ。王様なんて言っても実際ただの強盗じゃねえか。その辺のバイキングの親玉と何が違うってんだ。ああ、そんなに畑が欲しければ自分で作ってみやがれ。
Ooh.
土を耕して見守って育ててみろよ。そうすりゃそれを
All the effort that goes into it.
どれだけ悪いことか身に染みてわかるだろうぜ。
Unfazed, unmoved.
お前は昔ゲインズバラで言ったよな。この地上に楽土を作る。
Yeah.
生き苦しむ者たちのための理想郷をまだそう思っているか。
いかにも世はバイキングの親玉中の親玉だ。世こそは帝王、
Ooh.
北海最強のバイキングである。北欧最大の半島を滑る支配者。 世の力は人知を超え、不可能を可能にする。見よ、世の力であの波を沈めてみせよう。帝王クヌートの名において波を沈まれ。
He's trying to make an interesting point here.
見たか、そなたたち。我が力を寄せるさざ波さえ止めることができぬ。あの波を起こしている者が誰か知っているか？
The big dog.
神だ。
Kami.
この地上に楽土を築くということは、奴の定めた条理に逆らうということ。神への反逆だ。奴の定めに従っていては、人間は幸福になれぬ。
Ninge.
反逆。
God.
我らを見よトルフィン、我らバイキングを、この混乱と破壊の担い手を、恐怖の略奪者を。我らに楽園に住む資格があると思うか？
You have to make your own.
それこそ人間だ。罪を犯し迷い続ける人間の姿そのものなのだ。神に捨てられたこの者たちを救わねば、楽土建設など到底かなわぬ。
バイキングを救う。
そうだ。
Wow.
こ
Yeah.
の者たちを制し、御し、その力を束ね、
My God. Look at the detail.
楽土へ向かわせることができる者は世を置いて他にはおらぬ。力が必要だ。人間の力を束ね、神と戦うのだ。
Mm.
すごい男だ、クヌート。
A man in
俺
conviction.
には思いつきもしなかった。バイキングを救うなんて。
だがそのために今日てめえに殺される人間は誰が救うんだ。バイキングは力になるから生かして、役に立たない人間からは殺して奪うのか。俺はエセルレッド王に村を焼かれ、スベン王に家族を殺された。奴らにどんな理想があったかなんて知ったこっちゃねえ。もう真っ平だ。これ以上お前らの犠牲になってたま
Again,
るかよ。
incredible perspective to have for both Thorfinn and Canute. Mainly Canute in this case.
恨むなら恨め。
He's
そなた
accepted
に
it.
許されようとは思わぬ。
He's accepted that he'll be hated.
この
さすればどうするトルフィン。今ここで世を殺すか、殺さぬ限り世を止めることはできぬぞ。
No, let's talk some more. Let's talk some more. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, that's episode 22. It's a damn good episode. A lot of special moments. I think a lot of moments that you can classify as monumental to the story, to character progression, to story arcs, character arcs, development arcs, all of that. And you know, as a whole, it's just such a special feeling. You know, I know I say this all the time, but every single time I get to an episode of this anime, it's different. It just is, because this anime is just really quite special, right? I've been calling it essentially anime of the year for some time now. But you know, that being said, Pluto is around the corner as well, right? So there's high hopes for that. You know, that's really meant to be quite the production. And yeah, you know, it is Urasawa as well. So, you know, again, high hopes. I'm really quite excited for that. You know, there's a good chance it could be the follow-up to this, but it's not set in stone just yet. You know, more on that later once I actually get to that point. I mean, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get to these episodes as quickly as I would have liked. Again, you know, it's not by choice. I think anyone who's been around for some time now, anyone who knows my attachment to this anime and the story knows that, you know, it's not due to a lack of interest or anything. That's just not the case. I mean, at this point in time, I'm just legitimately finding it a bit difficult to squeeze in a new episode. right? It's just a scheduling thing, right? Perhaps it's kind of caught up to me a bit at this point. So yeah, even if there is a break between episodes, I honestly feel like I get sucked in almost immediately. I don't feel like there's a disconnect. I don't feel like I've been gone for too long or anything. You know, this truly felt like it had some key moments of this season as well, right? Payoff, incredibly fulfilling and satisfying payoff, and climaxes. That highly anticipated reunion between Thorfinn and Canute finally takes place, right? And you know, it's not done just yet. It's not done just yet. It's quite the interesting cliffhanger, right? Given the direction it's heading into. But I think there's clearly, you know, room for much more discussion, right? They certainly have to talk it out a bit more. They certainly do, don't they? And I believe, and I hope it is going to continue in that manner into the next episode, right? It feels like the conversation is just beginning, right? There's a lot of fantastic conversation taking place already, right? This is essentially the first time each one of them has a look at the new Thorfinn, at the new Canute, right? Because again, as Canute himself mentioned, 4 years is a long time, right? It is a long time. And of course, in that 4 years time, a person can change. Though to my surprise, Canute isn't really all that surprised about Thorfinn and his attitude at this point in time, right? It's almost as if, you know, he kind of anticipated that, okay, there might be some sort of shift, that he might actually experience some type of growth in that time span, specifically 4 years, because he himself has that firsthand experience, because he himself has grown quite a bit in those 4 years, right? Though, again, I must admit, I was surprised that Thorfinn didn't bring that up. Maybe he'll bring it up in the next episode or the episode after, though there's only 2 episodes left. So yeah, you know, next episode actually essentially is an important one. It's going to be a crucial episode, right? Because I'm kind of expecting episode 24 to be a bit of a, you know, wrap-up episode. And, you know, a lot of things kind of need to happen in that episode. So episode 23 actually promises to be quite substantial in the grand scheme of things, and how things are going to play out and how things are going to be resolved here on Ketzel's farm, and this, you know, meeting that they're having at the moment, this reunion. But yeah, going back to my initial point about Thorfinn not really being all that surprised about Canute's growth and change in that time, maybe it didn't really have to be stated out loud, right? It's kind of this understanding, right? Because Canute certainly said it, he voiced it, right? 4 years is a long time, and that is applicable to both of them. And the thing is, both of these men kind of have a better understanding, or the beginning stages of an understanding for each other's ideals, right? They get a taste of each other's newfound ideals, their grand ideals, right? From a certain perspective, really quite unrealistic ideals. But once again, these are outliers. These are special men, special people. Sometimes it takes special people to make change, people ahead of their time. I think that is certainly applicable to both Thorfinn and Canute. I think you can actually even say that Canute actually is quite a progressive king, quite a progressive leader, right? You know, there's some fascinating insight or continuation into his, grand plans of building paradise here on Earth. But I feel like after meeting each other, and perhaps, you know, once this kind of continues into the next episode as well, they are kind of beginning to see that they are two sides of the same coin at the end of the day, right? Of course, the approach might be a little bit different, right? But, you know, they're not too far off of each other. And, you know, by fascinating insight, I was speaking of Canute's goal of, uniting through conquest, working towards pacifying all of them once he can bring all of them into the fold. And of course, it's no easy task. It's not. And there's a lot of sacrifices that have to be made, right? It's one of those things that have been established since the early days of this season as well, right? That Canute has accepted this responsibility. He has taken this responsibility upon himself because he truly feels like he's the only one who is capable of pulling off something of this magnitude. He's the only one who finds himself in a position of power and in a position to actually move it even further, move it along even further, to actually potentially make this a reality. As he stated, I am the only one capable of conquering them, ruling them, unifying them, and directing them towards paradise, towards peace, essentially, right? That's the grand goal. That's the end goal of all of this. Through conquest, through unification, that if he is possibly able to accomplish this through these means, through this path that he's on, a path that he is not going to be moved from. Though, of course, he can certainly have an understanding for other perspectives, right? But he's still going to maintain this because in his mind, there could be a potential of no more war, and that perhaps there could be a period of internal peace and stability. But like I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to crack a few eggs to get there, right? To put it lightly, there's going to have to be a few sacrifices. And, once again, they reiterate that he has accepted that he is not going to be loved by all, right? He's accepted it, and he's not going to seek forgiveness for it because he knows he deserves a lot of the hate that comes towards him or comes at him, right? You have Einar kind of playing that role in this scene, right? I love that Thorfinn felt that, okay, Einar should come, right? He should be able to voice his opinions. His perspective should be looked at, should be observed by Canute himself. I feel like it was a cathartic moment for Einar as well, to be able to really get these feelings out there, right? It's not falling on deaf ears this time. This is the man himself. This is King Canute. But yeah, the Einars of this world, the common folk, the slaves, the farmers, these are the types of people that are going to suffer, right? As Canute kind of, walks this path towards making his own paradise, right? As he rebels against God, everything that is being done is in the name of that. Everything that is being done is going to be worth it. The ends justify the means. But like I said, I really love Einar's role in this because, he's kind of there to also kind of give Canute a bit of a reality check. I mean, no, let me take that back. Canute knows this. He knows all of this, but to hear it is something else entirely because, you don't really find yourself in a situation that often, right? That someone is able to voice something like this, right? To the king, directly to the king's face, right? And not just the king, there's all these men around him as well, right? His men. And Einar has no filter. He doesn't feel the need to have a filter here. He's letting it all out. He calls him a thief at one point, right? He understands that, beyond some of this mumbo jumbo, beyond these grand goals and grand words, he's not having any of it. And ultimately, at the most basic level, he understands that, this king is trying to take over the land. It's important that he takes over the land for his goals. And, that really rubs Einar the wrong way. Just the idea of snatching someone's hard work, right? Everything that goes into a farm, cultivating the farm, right? Running a farm, that attachment to the farm itself. But let me kind of shift the focus to yet another really fascinating Canute moment, right? Him commanding the waves to stop. I mean, first of all, the scene itself is quite a gripping scene, isn't it? Because listen, us, the audience, knows he's trying to make a point, right? And they know, clearly the men, or at least most of them know that he is trying to make a point. Yet there is this feeling of people hanging off of all of his words. They have his attention, all of them, including Einar and Thorfinn. They all look towards him as he commands the waves to stop. Again, not really expecting anything to truly happen, right? But still, there is something about this man. There's something about this man that you listen. This man speaks and you listen. And, it's just kind of insane to see King Canute, right? I've seen this side of him for some time now, for long spans of this series already, or this season. But to see the person he used to be, and to see him now as this leader of men, and of course, Yamada's score really elevates that scene to something really quite, I don't know, strange and fascinating as well. I mean, ultimately, it's this incredible moment of humility, this open admission to his own limitations. This is God's realm, and I have to defy that logic to build my paradise. And then, of course, there is the Thorfinn moment before they actually kind of reunite. This is the moment. This is a moment 2 seasons in the making. This is a moment that is just so satisfying. Like I said earlier, completely fulfilling and satisfying. It is just this incredible payoff, isn't it? To have Thorfinn standing there, standing tall and proud, right? Defiant, as he has this complete understanding of his father's most important lesson. The most important lesson that he gave him all the way back in episode 2 of season 1. You have no enemies. No one is your enemy. Everything that he's been through, everything that he's experienced since, everything he's gone through, it has led him to this point. It has led him to completely understanding everything that his father stood for and believed in. And my God, it is just one of the greatest moments in anime for me. Sure, my anime experiences are still not really quite as extensive as your own, perhaps, right? But I think I've seen a decent amount at this point. I've seen some good stuff at this point. And listen, this isn't just anime specific, right? This can go beyond anime. This is just an incredible moment as far as storytelling I've consumed in recent memory. This is just, it's staggering. It's monumental. And, I keep using that term monumental because it feels like it, right? It didn't feel cheap. It feels earned. It feels like it had the gravitas. You really truly feel the journey he's been on, right? Everything it took to get to this point, to have this understanding, to have that absolute conviction as he stood there and claims that he has no enemies. I just met you today. I don't hate you. It is just this incredible moment of catharsis all around. For us, the audience, for Thorfinn himself as well. I'm kind of getting chills just speaking of this and thinking about this, because now I'm thinking about the journey itself as well. Really thinking all the way back to the first few episodes of the anime. And I said that he was defiant, right? That shot of him, his face just all mangled up, swollen beyond recognition. I mean, Knut certainly couldn't tell that was him physically, because listen, even if he was able to go with the punches for the most part, go with the strikes, at the end of the day, it's a big man, right? And, unfortunately for Thorfinn, he takes one of those shots head on, right? And just one of those shots, bit my tongue. Sorry. Just one of those shots really put him down, right? It took him a little time, but of course, as expected, he got back up. And then, there's that moment. It's actually quite refreshing to get to hear Thorfinn's voice actor kind of lean into that aspect a bit, right? He's taunting the big man to continue, right? It's rare. You don't really get to hear that side of Thorfinn anymore, do you? So, even though, of course, he's just playing it up, he's just kind of, getting him to act out, to continue, it was still kind of refreshing to hear that side of him, just for a moment. But then, of course, after a certain point, the mood changes. The mood just completely changes. And, all of that rowdy behavior, all that fun that everyone's having at that point, all of it just dissipates. And now, everyone that is a part of that group, all those people that are having a fun time betting and kind of, watching this big man try to take out this little man, Thorfinn, it's all gone. Now they all know this is something special taking place. This is a special person standing in front of this big man, taking all of that, right? Even though, of course, he's got a knack for taking those shots, right? I'll be honest, that aspect of it is still a little bit, it's something I'm still not completely sure about. This whole him having to take 100 strikes, or him taking or being able to take 100 strikes in that manner. To me, a part of that whole thing feels a little bit silly. The concept of it feels a bit silly. But ultimately, he hoped or anticipated that this is how he can actually gain their respect. He knows the types of men they are, right? He gets to praise for being a true warrior from a few different perspectives. From our perspective, from the story's perspective, he has kind of achieved that status of a true warrior in the eyes of his own late father, or at least he's firmly on that path. But then you have to look at it from this other perspective, right? The big man and these other men that are around him. To them, he does classify as the other type of true warrior in their eyes. He is a true warrior, right? Sure, maybe that's not the type of warrior Thorfinn really wants to be, but he's able to gain that respect regardless because of his actions, because of that showing, because of that defiant nature, right? And actually, it's because of the men and Wolf that Canute actually even decides to take the meeting, right? Because you see that Wolf is speaking on his behalf, on Thorfinn's behalf, and on the behalf of his men. That all of us think that he deserves an audience with you. And then, of course, there's that really incredible moment as the big man himself is exhausted and he finds himself on his knees. And, the camera kind of pans up from his perspective, looking up at Thorfinn, right? Again, the state of his face, but again, defiant. At that point, he deems him a true warrior. I apologize for ever doubting you, Thorfinn, son of Thors. Now, compare that to the last episode. He is looking down on Thorfinn. He towers above Thorfinn. And at that point, he's full of just rage. And once again, it just excels from the production side of things, doesn't it? The detailed expressions in this episode are just so impressive, aren't they? And really quite crucial, because the expressions are really quite important to a lot of the things that are playing out here. I just mentioned that whole idea of all of these men just kind of watching the situation play out, right? And the whole tone and mood just completely shifting, right? And then, of course, you go to the second half of it as you kind of get to see Canute's men behind him, right? Those expressions, expressions on Einar's face. The man is just going through it, isn't he? And I think it really communicates that through its visual storytelling. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's yet another incredible episode, right? It's constantly pushing out 9 out of 10s, right? And then, of course, there's a few 10 out of 10s as well. And I'm sure, these next 2 episodes have the potential to be perhaps the best. Maybe the best is actually yet to come for season 2 in these last 2 episodes. Potentially the next episode. Because like I said a little bit earlier, the last episode kind of has a few requirements, doesn't it? So maybe, it might be a different ilk of episode. But yeah, of course, I'm incredibly excited to continue. Of course, I do hope I can get to it much sooner. It is the goal. It's always the goal. But yeah, if you enjoyed this one, folks, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and, potentially supporting the channel. The links are in the description and the pinned comment, also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the penultimate episode of Season 2. Until then, take it easy.